Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. Welcome back to my YouTube guitar building channel. Today's video is going to be more of a commentary, an opinion piece, an editorial, if you will. Recently, I had posted a video where I explained how I made this radius sanding block out of aluminum using my CNC machine. And as always, whenever I post videos where I talk about using CNC technology, there's always going to be one or two comments from folks who ask me about whether or not they can make a tool like this by hand using basic tools if they don't have a CNC machine. And occasionally I'll get comments from people complaining about the use of CNC technology. And I understand that, I get it. I know that not everybody out there has a CNC machine. And I also know that there's a lot of people who are attracted to the romance of making stuff the old-fashioned way before the era of computers and digital technology. And that's fine. I used to build guitars that way for many, many years. And eventually it got to a point where it just lost its challenge. It wasn't that difficult to make a guitar. And I started looking for new ways to challenge myself. And the way that came to mind was to use CNC technology. And the reason that it appealed to me is because the learning curve is pretty steep, and it takes a committed effort to master the software and the technology and to understand how to use it to make guitars. At any rate, once I made that decision and decided to head down that path, I never looked back. And if for some reason I couldn't use my CNC machine anymore, I'd stop building guitars because I'm just not going to go back to doing it the old-fashioned way. Well, after I had made this tool and had read through some of the comments, I decided I was going to make yet another tool. And that tool is the fret sanding tool. This tool was made pretty much entirely by hand. I think the only assistance I relied on was I used a vise, a mallet, my belt sander, and then a file to form the groove. And so it was all done completely by hand. Well, wouldn't you know, once that video was posted, one of the comments that came in was, Chris, I'm surprised you didn't use your CNC machine to make this tool. So obviously, when it comes to CNC, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. And I've realized I have to just go with what I feel is the best way to do it and let the chips fall where they may. Whenever I post videos where I talk about CNC technology, I'll always read through the comments. And as I said before, some of them are somewhat critical of my use of CNC. And I always try to read between the lines to really try to understand what that person is actually saying. And I can't help but think that a lot of folks are simply frightened by the technology, because it used to take years and years to learn how to master the art of sharpening and using, like a hand plane or a spoke shave to make anything. And oftentimes you had to apprentice and develop those skills over many years. And then once you did it, your skill had value. Well, now CNC technology has made it possible, or is making it possible, for a 10-year-old boy or girl to make a pretty nice guitar the first time out. And I think that scares people. They see that and think, boy, all that time spent learning that handcrafting technique is kind of going away. And yeah, I realize that making guitars or furniture or whatever by hand is romantic, but you can't stop the wheels of progress. And oftentimes when I'll read those comments, what makes me laugh is the folks who post them are oftentimes posting them with their phone. So they're using some of the most advanced technology to complain about advanced technology. And there's just a real powerful irony in that. But also, I think what happens is people tend to look at the technology as a threat to artisanal craftsmanship and that sort of thing, without realizing that CNC can achieve the highest levels of precision possible, far beyond what a human can do in repetition over and over and over and over. And I built guitars by hand for many, many years. In fact, I got to the point where in an effort to continue to try to challenge myself, I stopped using templates. I just draw it out freehand, and then I would route it freehand. There was a video, and if I can find it, I'll post a link up here, where I was freehand routing all my pickup and neck pockets. And people thought that was pretty crazy, but it wasn't that difficult because I had done it so many times before with and without templates that I could practically blindfold myself and do it. So it kind of lost its challenge. But I think another thing that's happening is we are starting to see CNC technology go mainstream. And, you know, I don't know if you've noticed it, but if you take a look at like the Grizzly catalog, this is their 2021 catalog, they've got quite a few CNC machines ranging in price in their catalog. And I've noticed watching online, a lot of woodworking retailers are starting to feature and promote CNC machines because they know that's where it's heading. And I think an important thing to understand with CNC technology is, despite how amazing it can seem, there is a time to use it and a time not to use it. And these two tools were a pretty good example of it. When I used CNC to make this 12-inch radius sanding block, I did so because there's a good chance I'm going to make quite a few of these. I'm not going to be selling them, so don't ask. But I may make more of them, primarily for myself and a few of my special friends. And because of that, I want that ability to clamp down the piece of aluminum to my CNC machine and then just quickly machine out that radius. But a tool like this is a one-off tool. I'm not going to make another one of these. So to build all the files and set the tool paths and write the G-code files just for a little tool like this doesn't make sense. So it's easier just to make it by hand using a few simple tools. I can do it faster than I could if I was going to rely on CNC. However, if I was going to rely on CNC, I could knock these things out pretty quickly. However, my focus is not making and selling tools. I'll leave that for companies like StewMac and Luthier's Mercantile International, or Philadelphia Luthier Tools, or Bitterroot is another good one that I like to use. And, you know, I'll let those guys do it because I know if I was to set up a production process for making these in mass, I could probably sell them for $40-45 a piece, and they'd probably be pretty popular. But you can almost bet that one of the customers who would buy it would be somebody over in China possibly, who would quickly reverse engineer it and would start knocking them off at $5 a piece. So that's one of the reasons why I don't want to go down that path of making tools. So at any rate, that's kind of what I wanted to get off my chest about those two recent videos, hand building versus CNC. I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. And, you know, I just have to accept the fact that for a while at least, people are going to be there are going to be a few people, not a lot, but a few people who are going to be somewhat critical over the use of CNC technology. And I like to think of those guys as, you know, if they were living back in the early 20th century, they would have been riding through town in their horse-drawn buggy, cursing the guy in his noisy, smelly automobile as it drove by. So we all know how that ended up. At any rate, As always, give my video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you want to show the channel support, head over to eguitarplans.com, purchase a plan either for a guitar or one of the tools. I don't have plans for these particular tools, but I do have plans for my drum sander, my buffing machine, a flip top tool stand. I even have plans for the CNC machine that I used to use before I got the X-Carve Pro. So you can definitely check that out. And even if you don't build the plan that you purchase, just know that your purchase is helping to support this channel and keep me posting videos. So until the next episode, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.